Ladies and gentlemen, my name is BRD, and today I'm here to provide one thing I love and one thing I hate about every team in the Bar and Geek Harbor Fantasy League, and provide my Week 1 power rankings for the league as well. Let's hop right into it. Unsurprisingly, in my 10th place is Damar Hamlin's Heart, who scored 88.2 points. One thing I hate about this team, everything outside of Devonta Adams. And one thing I love about this team is Devonta Adams, because yes, Jacoby Myers had concussion protocol taken place, and so there's a fair likelihood that he won't be coming back for next week, which means Devonta Adams should be hopefully getting a larger workload. And while he didn't perform too bad this week, he should perform even better next week. And so that's one thing I love and hate about Damar Hamlin's Heart. Moving on to my number 9 team, I have Couganit, who scored 106.6 points. One thing I love about this team, Stefon Diggs. He proved why he's one of the best players in the league. One thing I hate, the bench. Yes, this bench is pretty concerning to say the least. You have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, who are serviceable starters and should only get better as the time goes on. But when they're out, who are you putting in? Zeke? Because you aren't putting Rashad Penny in. He's a ghost! And Geno Smith and JSN really aren't showing anything. Hopefully when Mark Andrews comes back, things should get better, but Adam Thielen is not a serviceable backup in this league. In my number 8 spot, I have Amon Another Level, who scored 107.64 points. One thing I love about this team, Amon-Ra St. Brown. This guy is tearing things up, and he should continue to remain a star. Something I hate? Well, kind of the depth at running back. Look, Najee Harris and Cam Akers are your two go-to guys, and Jerick McKinnon is next in line. Like, if one of those two goes out, it's probably over, and you could say it's already over for Cam Akers, who had less touches than his competitor at his position on his team. Things aren't looking great for the running back position on this team, but Travis Kelce's coming back, which is one thing I love. Hopefully he should return for next week, but if he doesn't, there is still trouble in the water for Amon-Ra, who kind of got bailed out by that Dallas defense. In my number 7 spot, I have Mac Jones MVP year. I don't really know what I love about this team because it's like the definition of mid. I guess the thing I love about this team is the bench isn't bad, and Mac Jones is on the bench, and he cooked. But one thing I hate about this team is these players, except Nick Chubb, give me some slight fraudulent vibes. Looking at you, Joe Burrow, I think he'll be back, but it's certainly not the way you want to start the season. Because sure, maybe they'll come around by week 4 or week 5. Look, this team should only get better. Hopefully, CeeDee Lamb should play a bigger role. Amari Cooper should play a bigger role. Because to be fair, Joe and Amari played in some pretty severe rain. But you're paid to do it. You're not paid to play like shit, which is essentially what Joe Shiesty did. Call him Joe Shitty for all I care. Number 7, Mac Jones MVP year. In my number 6, I have the notorious CTE, who scored 92.56 points. One thing I love about this team, that starting lineup. This is frightening. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Pat Freiermuth, Mike Williams. Look, that is absolutely insane. And this bench isn't terrible, but it's not good. I'm looking at you, Quentin Johnson, Devin Singletary, Michael Gallup. Like, these are guys who you can't really bet on them to pop off in fantasy, and so outside of that starting roster, there's not much in the way of depth. However, this team, on any good day, hopefully can beat anyone, and Jamar Chase did kind of have an unfortunate quarterback situation, so he couldn't really pop off like you'd expect him to, but that's my number 6. In my number 5, I do have the Decepticons, who scored 112.04 points. Something I love about this team, Mahomes. Look, I'm not trying to glaze, but he's really good. Look, he had some bummy receivers he was throwing to, and he's still putting up good performances. Hopefully, when he gets Kelsey back, this will be electric. And there were some solid performances outside of Mahomes as well. ETN and Michael Pittman both put up shockingly good scores. I didn't really expect them to do anything in the way of that. However, one thing I hate about this, Cooper Kupp on IR. Not amazing. You draft him in the first round, and obviously you really don't hope this happens. The receivers on this team are a little frightening because Christian Watson is questionable, but he should be back, and you're probably going to put him in for T. Higgins because Jordan Love proved that he's clearly actually good at football. And T. Higgins, I guess he had Joe Burrow throwing him the ball, so I'm not going to hold him, but I just don't like him for fantasy. In my number 4, I have Home Debo, who scored 134.14 fantasy points. Look, if you want to talk about the best wide receiver core in the league, it is this team right here. Jefferson, Olave, Hopkins, Evans, and McLaurin. What the hell? This guy has put together one of the greatest receiving cores in fantasy. That's his specialty. That's what he's known for. He likes to take his reaches on decisions that you might be mixed on but turn out quite good. Tua, let him cook. If he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle down the field and he doesn't hit his head, clearly things click for this team. Some concerns I have though. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't get a ton of touches, and obviously J.K. Dobbins out for the season. The running back position is a huge question mark for this team, and whether or not they're going to be able to get the assistance they need is unknown, because this bench has James Cook, who isn't horrible, but certainly isn't what you'd like as your number 1 running back, and outside of that, DeAndre Swift, he's not... he just didn't really prove it that he's the guy that you'd like in that spot, but that is my number 4. Into my number 3, we have Benny and the Jets, the rookie of the league with 137.94 points. Look, one thing I love about this team, the running back position. If you want to talk about a complete 180 from Debo, it's this. Christian McCaffrey and Aaron Jones looks to be an electrifying core, and Miles Sanders is serviceable at the position. The receivers also are quite good too. Garrett Wilson and Devonta Smith, not to mention Brandon Ayuk on the bench, who had a crazy game, 34.5 points. That is insane. And this team has Zay Flowers as well. They look good. The only negative thing I have to say about this team, I guess, is that Justin Fields still kind of looks ass, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's not really able to support as good a fantasy as he did last year, because he'll be running less and trying to throw the ball more, and shocker, he's not as good at throwing as he's at running. But overall, this team seems to have solid depth and very, very good skill players. I really like this team. In the number 2, the auto drafter himself, the Santa Fe Privateers, with a respectable 141.92. Let me just say this. Tyreek Hill, that's it. That is all I have to say. This man dropped 47.5 points. That is what I love about this team. You can't be upset if you get Tyreek Hill. Something that is a slight concern for this team is tight end. Look, if tight end's your biggest concern, you're probably doing something right. Because Dallas Goedert, it may have been 0.2 points. You have Tyreek Hill. Who cares? Like, this guy is a menace. And Jake Elliott dropped 18. I don't even know what's going on there. My biggest concern with this team is the bench. Courtland Sutton did play well, but when Jerry Jeudy comes back, who knows how that's going to go. And Kirk is a fine backup QB. But outside of that, this bench is very concerning. Jeff Wilson, obviously on IR. Alvin Kamara, suspended for some time. And Antonio Gibson, the fraud he is terrible at the game. Quit. Just quit. But this team's starting roster is insane outside of Dameon Pierce. I really like the look of this team. In the number 1 spot himself, last year's Demon Fried Chicken team. 144.44 points. Look, this team has solid star power in every position, including the bench. I don't know if there's anything I even hate about this team, so I'll just talk about what I love. T-Law looked excellent, especially throwing to Ridley, who he has stacked on this team. That is tremendous. Austin Eckler and Tony Pollard, these are both running back 1s for your team, and he's got both of them. It's crazy. TJ Hawkinson, an excellent tight end for fantasy. He has him here. And look, DJ Moore didn't play great. Not too frightening when you have guys like Jordan Addison on your bench, when you have guys like Tyler Algier on your bench, when you have guys like even, God, man, you could really say anybody on this team could fit in, because when Jerry Jeudy comes back, that'll be a potential look. This team was shockingly allowed to exist in this league. Like, you're telling me DJ Moore is your worst player? You've probably done something right. He has bet on a few guys who really have proven themselves here. And overall, this team looks like a fantasy winner. If anybody could win fantasy this year, I think it's probably this team. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my fantasy power rankings of the week. What do you think? Let me know who you agree or disagree on. Let me know who you think probably are going to collapse or who you think is going to have the greatest comeback of all time next week. And I'd like to say, Zach Wilson, it is your time. Jets to the Super Bowl, Zach Wilson, Super Bowl MVP. Let's do this.